Matadors.
Let's go.
This is the MataCast podcast. My name is Yassine.
My name is Miguel.
I'm Mr. Hernandez.
This is our guest, Mr. Hernandez. Today we're going to be interviewing Mr. Hernandez. So just tell us about yourself, like where you're from, what's your job here at Mariloma. Just like, again, introduce yourself to the viewer.
So I'm Mr. Hernandez. I'm one of the school counselors here at Mariloma. I was born and raised in the Central Valley. So it's a small town called Porterville, which is an hour south of Fresno and an hour and a half-ish north of Bakersfield. So small little cow town, probably like 60,000 people. I ended up here in SAC because of college and soccer. And then what I do here at school, I help students with whatever issues they may have. So personal issues, class schedules, college questions, right? Social emotional stuff. I'm also the girls varsity head coach, and then I am also the JV boys golf coach. So that's something new that I've been dabbling in. But yeah, that's kind of like a brief overview of me.
You said girls varsity, that's for soccer?
Yes, yeah. Girls varsity soccer.
So how was that season?
So this is only my third year coaching the girls. Prior to that, I've never coached girls before. I always coached boys. But there was an opportunity for coaching, and they reached out and said, hey, we need somebody. And I said, sure, I'll fill in for a year. And that first year we went 2-10, so that was really rough. I wanted to quit right after that just because it was tough.
Yeah.
But then we ended up getting more girls that came out to try out. So when I first got the program, we probably had like 40 girls come and try out. And then the second year, we had girls come out and we had like 60 girls try out. And then we went 8 and 9, give or take, 8 or 9. So we were fourth in league. And then this past year, we had over 70 girls come and try out. We had so many girls that we were able to have 3 teams. So we had a freshman team, a JV team, and a varsity team. And then this was, there goes Mr. Bender's kid, dude. And then, so this year we had another good season. We ended up fourth in league again. But it was the second time in school history, to my knowledge, that the girls have made playoffs. So that was a big deal. So round of applause for the girls. So yeah, that was a big deal. So really looking to just try to build our girls soccer program here and just overall athletics here at Mariloma, because we're like super academic driven here, which isn't a bad thing, but we have a lot of athletes, right? A lot of studs that play sports that don't always get recognized, and I think that we have to also, like, if we rise up with academics, we have to rise up in our athletics too. So, small change, little by little.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like our athletics have actually been getting a lot better recently. Like soccer has been getting good. I remember like in the last couple of years we had like a really good boys soccer team. Also, my cousin played for that actually.
Yeah, well, boys just won the league this past year.
They did, really.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. And then I know football's been doing really good. I know tennis is pretty good too.
Tennis, cross country.
Our track team is always good.
Track is always good. Wrestling, right? Boys wrestling. That guy, I don't know who it is, but one of our students made it to state or is going to state. So yeah, it's just
impressive. It's impressive.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions? You want to talk about Miguel?
I have a question.
Yes.
How did you end up working here at Mariloma?
So I was a counselor. Okay, so I mean, prior to being a counselor, I worked at Sac State Admissions. So I was an admissions counselor, and I recruited in like the greater Sacramento area. So anywhere from like schools like Sac High, JFK, to Elk Grove, right? Like Sheldon, Laguna Creek, and then out to Woodland, up here in this like San Juan region as well. So I would go around and give admission presentations, right? And my biggest thing was try to like sell students like, hey, come to Sac State, right? And a lot of students at the time didn't want to come to Sac State because it wasn't as big as it is now, right? Now it's got like the whole NIL money, sports are on the up and up, right? Whatever. It wasn't like that back then. So then I was in school to get my master's and in counseling, and I was kind of looking to get a promotion, right? And sometimes you'll learn that when you're trying to advocate for yourself, right, to get better things, you don't always get what it is that you think you hope for. And so that was my situation. So I was a young professional, And so then I ended up just finding a new job in San Juan School District, and I was a counselor for Thomas Edison. So Thomas Edison is our dual immersion school in our district, and so they're K-8. And that's when I met Miguel, who doesn't remember, but he was at, I think you were at Arden.
Yeah.
And he was running track, and I just remember thinking, like, man, look at this kid. He's sprinting, and then he's throwing. And Thomas Edison, similar to Mira Loma, had very, very small sports programs, right? Like, we just got together, like, 10, 15 kids of what we could, and then you go to Churchill and all these other programs that have, like, massive kids. And then I always wanted to be a high school counselor. So I wanted to see what that was like, because as I was working in admissions, I got to see what the high school counselors got to do. And then in my high school, I had a pretty crappy high school counselor, unfortunately. I mean, she was a good person. But I had big ambitions, and she kind of let me know, like, hey, dude, like, tough luck. Like, you probably need to go to the community college if you want to go to the University of Southern California, so like USC, right? So that was very discouraging to me. And so as I began to kind of see the counselors, that I would visit their campuses, I just saw like how they had really good rapport with the students, right? And they were making like impact. So there was a lot of students that would go to their counselors like during these presentations and be like, oh my gosh, so-and-so, I need to go here, I need to go there. Like, can I come talk to you? And I was like, dude, this is dope. You know what I mean? Like there's like a relationship between students and counselors. And so I really took a liking to that perspective. So I knew that I wanted to be a high school counselor, at least dabble in it to see what that was like. And then I applied. There was an opening, and I applied. And I thought, like, all right, cool. Like, I didn't know anything about Mira Loma other than it's an IB school, right? So I was like, okay, they have the academics, which would be cool. But I come from a small town where, like, academics and sports are, like, hand in hand. So there's, like, a culture, right? Like, there's, like, a vibe. So, like, our Sportsorama, right, the hype we get around that for Sportsorama is, like, the general hype that you would get around for sports in the Central Valley. Like, because it's such a small community, everybody shows up, right? Like, Friday Night Lights is a thing. Everybody shows up. There's always rivalries. So, like, I went to Wenatchee High School, right? And so we were the Marauders. And our rival was Porterville High School, and they're the Panthers. So, like, any game, girls basketball, boys soccer, girls soccer, football, right? Like, the community just shows up, and there's a rivalry there. Respectful, of course, and then sometimes these things get out of hand, and then, students have to adjust. So when I got here, I wasn't really sure, like, what the vibe was like here. But, I mean, you have so many academically smart kids that you're just like, okay. So then I got here, and I was just like, all right, like, there's, NYP, there's IB, there's International Studies, right? There's BSU, there's Students for Change, right? There's so many things here that it's overwhelming. So as a new staff member, you're kind of just like, how do you fit in, right? Like, how do you kind of just operate and navigate with these students who are like, I'm not just trying to go to Sac State, I'm trying to go to MIT, I'm trying to go to Harvard, I'm trying to go to Yale, and like, they're getting into these schools, right? So that was very like eye-opening for me, right? Someone who comes from a small town, seeing that like kids, even in because our school is small, we have like 1,600 students. Maybe not as small as like Encina or San Juan, but we're fairly small compared to like our neighbors around us, like Del Campo, El Camino, BB, right? But we have kids like going places, right? And so that was like the biggest kind of like eye-opener when I got here. So, just trying to help build community, and then also just trying to help students understand like their potential and their capacities. I think the biggest thing that you as young men and high school students can learn is that like life after high school is all about like what skills do you possess, right? It's not just about advocating for yourself, but it's like doing the things you don't want to do when you don't have motivation. It's a big thing for high school kids, right? I'm not motivated to get this done. Well, I've had to learn just through my own personal journey, it's like, are you disciplined enough? So like you guys are student athletes, right? Every time you want to go to practice, you probably don't want to be there, right? And that's normal. Sometimes when I go to coach, I'm just like, man, like, I don't know if what we're going to do is really going to work or help the girls. But if I show them that I don't want to be there, right, they're not going to want to be there. So it really comes down to discipline. Like, are you disciplined enough to do the hard things when nobody else is watching, right? And how do you teach that to 17-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old kids who you've never been put in a situation right? Where you've had to make decisions on your own. And so that's the biggest thing that I learned after I left high school, because I got to Sac State when I was 17. So I was young. And I just figured it out, dude. Find mentors. That's the one thing I would ask you to do, is find mentors. People that, like, not that you glorify like Mr. Posner, okay? But like people that you think like, hey, like, I see that the way they're moving with their words and their actions, right? Like for me right now, the GOAT, Mr. Kuzmich, right? Kuzi's the boy. Kuzi's the guy, okay? And Mr. Posner as well, right? Like we got a lot of good teachers on this campus that you can kind of exactly. So like where their words match their actions. That's the biggest thing, right? If their words and actions don't match, right? You gotta kind of like take a pause and be like, okay, what from that information can I pull and be useful? So.
I mean, yeah, it definitely seems like an odd transition kind of for you at first when you're coming over to the school for the first time originally. I feel like you've definitely kind of like taken that transition and taken it well. Like you definitely, I like as personally, like as a student, as I've continued to be here, I feel like I've seen you more and more doing different things, doing more things. You know, compared to like my freshman year, I had never seen you before. Like sophomore year, I kind of saw you a couple times, and these last 2 years, I've seen you a lot. You know, especially recently this year, like doing a lot of stuff, especially with Students for Change you mentioned, and other things like that. Like it's definitely like an example for other people to like kind of like put themselves out there, just kind of like if you want to do something, you do it.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about the discipline. Like Miguel, how do you feel about the discipline?
Discipline of what?
Like that you develop about playing like sports and stuff like that.
With sports, I feel like it's a teensy bit different than with academics, because with sports there's always that factor of, well, maybe my body does have that extra amount of energy to keep going, and especially like with track, you have to like stretch a lot, and doing that at home sometimes might seem boring, and like you might be tired to practice. But with academics, there's that factor of like you don't really feel like, for me at least, you don't really feel like you're completing something. Like it's just like you have to do this work and get it done, and obviously that gets you a grade and stuff. But I don't know, for me it's just I do struggle with that a little bit, because I don't really see like the outcome of it.
I mean, I feel like with academics, it's more like a long-term kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like whenever you're doing something, you kind of have to like think about like, how is this gonna affect me in the long term? Like, is this like a skill I want to build in my future, or is this like something I don't really have to concern myself about? And kind of like that can be like a motivator, honestly. Like seeing like your grades and like knowing like this is gonna help me get to where I want in life. You know, like I mean personally, I didn't care about my grades in like the first 2 years of high school.
Yeah.
But now I'm regretting that, because I'm like inputting them into like applications and stuff for colleges, and like they weren't bad grades. I had like C's and D's, but like it's not A's, and you see that and you're like, okay, I could have done better here. I could have done better here. Like, how did I get a C in PE?
Yeah.
Like,
bro, that's the biggest thing to like wrap my head around, right? Is like you have these student athletes, right? I mean, boys, girls, like everybody, but they won't change out, right? Like they won't dress out, but they'll dress out to go do their sport, which is just crazy. And so when I'm hearing you say like, oh, for academics, like I don't really see like the end game, right? I mean, I would just say like that's the student perspective, right? Is like, what is the currency there, right? Like for some grades, for some students, it's like, yeah, I need that A, like that is my currency, right? But for other students, it's like kind of like what Marshawn Lynch says, right? I'm just here so I don't get fined, right? And so I think the thing that you have to think about is that like, while the impact isn't like instant, like you've been probably accustomed to now with like our phones and social media and stuff, it's the gradual stuff. So like the way I've tried to teach students that come into my office, right? Because obviously we have 5 counselors, and every counselor, while we are the same in like logic and theory, the way we provide the message is different, right? Or the way we practice certain things are different, right? And that's, I think, for a campus as diverse as ours, that's beneficial, right? I'm the only male counselor on our campus, right? Let alone one of maybe 5 male counselors in the district, right? And I'm bilingual, so it's kind of like a unique experience to walk in and be like, I have a guy counselor, right? And there's a lot of stigmas of like he may not be as empathetic as a female counselor might be, or like he may just be like the sports guy or whatever, you know? And so what I try to tell my students is you have to take these baby steps, right? And so if we think about Legos, right?
Yeah.
When you get the mixed pack of Legos, sure, you have the kind of like instructions on how to put them together, but they're just a variety of Legos, right? And so what I tell my students is like every time you do something like in the right direction, whatever it is, right? Sports, fitness, school or whatever, you're just like stacking blocks, right? And over time, right, those blocks begin to develop into bigger things, right? And Mr. Posner will call it like stocks, right? He'll buy a little bit of stocks and then over time he's making more money, right? It's the same thing with academics, but I think at your guys' age, like how do we as adults break down this message and this information that we've learned in a simplified way that you can digest it, right? Because we can sit here and talk shop all day long and talk your ear off, but like if after we leave here you're just like, I don't even know what the freak Mr. Hernandez said, right? All I heard was Legos, right? Then it's like, did I fail or did I at least plant something, right? So the biggest thing that you can possibly consider is that like everything that you do every single day is a habit that you're creating, both positive or negative, right? You have to be accountable for those outcomes. And I think if we can teach our students and just young men and young ladies that every day you have a choice, whether you think you do or not, you're making a choice. You have to be responsible for those outcomes. Like, I'm sure there are students that are going to watch this and be like, I freaking hate this guy, right? And I have to accept that there are students maybe on my caseload that aren't fond of me for whatever interactions that we've had, right? But then on the other side of that coin, there are students that maybe are fond of me because of the same interactions that we've had, right? And so you essentially just have to recognize that every choice that I am making, good or bad, I as an adult and as a counselor on this campus, I have to be accountable for that. And that is hard to do, right? Because it's like, how easy is it to make a lie and be like, I didn't do that, right? Miguel comes into my office and he's like, Mr. Hernandez, you told me I can do this. And I can be like, I didn't say you can do that, right? Like I can totally gaslight him, right? Because I don't want to take accountability that maybe I was wrong in what I was telling Miguel, right? And so what I try to do when students come into my office is provide them all the information, right, that I have, right? So I'm not going to sugarcoat it, right? And it may sound a little bit more, I don't know, like in your face, right? But the thing is like if you don't hear it from me and you don't hear it from anybody else, then the only other option is you're going to have to figure it out on your own, right? And sometimes that works, and other times it's like, I wish I would have known just this, right? And so I'll give the students the information and then tell them, here's your choices, right? And they'll be like, okay, what do you think I should do, Mr. Hernandez? And they're like, well, it's not my decision. I've already gone to high school, right? It's what's best for you. So that's what I struggle with is how do I take what I know and dwindle it down so that it's palatable for you guys as students so that you can take something, right?
Yeah.
Take something and
leave them off better than when they came.
Right. I mean, that's the hope, right? Is that you guide them, right, in the right direction to what they want to do. But it's hard, man. It's hard, you know? Like, imagine your parents trying to tell you to do something that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
I'm just a freaking stranger, let alone you only see me at school, right? Why am I going to listen to this guy? So I try to very much build that rapport with my students to show, like, hey, like, Miguel, Yassine, super dope kids, right? But if you step out of line, like, I'm going to call you out. Because if I don't, then you're going to continue to repeat those bad behaviors. And then you're going to get to that one point in your life, maybe at 20, 21, 23, 24, 30, right? And you're in a relationship or you're about to get a job, right? And you make that mistake again, and the consequences is bigger and more detrimental, right? Then you're like, now you don't have a girlfriend. Now you've lost your job. And you're sitting there like, where did this all go wrong, right? And it's like, well, I could have told you. It's that day in senior year when you were doing X, Y, and Z, and me as the adult chose not to call you out, right? So I see it that way. If I don't just bring it to your attention, chances are I'm contributing to allowing you to create a bad habit. And why do I want to do that if I'm here to help students better themselves?
That's actually very interesting. Like the way like you're thinking with that, like especially like a lot of like the examples you're giving, like it makes a lot of sense with how you're explaining yourself, and like I don't even know what I'm trying to say right now.
It's okay,
we'll
bro.
we'll cut this part out.
We can cut this part
Or
out.
we can not cut it out.
It's fine. It's a podcast.
It's a podcast. Miguel, what do you feel?
So SAR is starting. So how do you feel about SAR?
About SAR, I mean, I think SAR is super dope in the way that it's done here at Mariloma, right? Because I know Del Campo does one too. I've never seen it, but I'm a competitive guy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for an underdog story. So no offense to you seniors, right? But I'm always putting my money on freshmen, man. I'm always, right?
I mean,
When it comes to money wars, I'm putting more money in the freaking senior bucket, right? Because I think, I mean, I would never want the seniors to lose like on SAR nights, right? Because I'm sure that would feel super sucky, right? But the lore and the drama that it creates, right? Like last year's SAR, like I was like, oh man, there might be an upset. Mm-hmm. And that, like, as somebody who just loves sports, right? Like that gets me like excited for SAR. Because then you see the kids, like they're beginning to calculate and be like, we might be down. Right? Like seniors last year, they were sweating.
Really?
For sure they were sweating, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that like while I do want it to be more competitive, right? I think that the way that Mr. Posner and that Student Gov runs it is probably the best way to do it because everybody's so like encouraging and supportive.
But we do have a lot of competitive games though. Like
broomball.
Broomball is fun.
Broomball's fun.
Competitive.
Broomball's fun.
It gets kind of chippy sometimes.
Yes.
Kind of chippy sometimes, but
broomball's fun.
It's a fun game. It's definitely a fun game. I feel like me personally, like it feels like the most similar to like a normal sport that you might find on like the outside, but just in Sportsrama.
Yeah.
Like, like it reminds me like I'm playing basketball or hockey or something like that. Whenever I'm playing it, I don't know. I definitely love Sportsrama. I know I've been coaching the freshmen with some other people, and they're actually doing pretty good. Where they've actually been doing pretty good. Broomball, they played against the juniors the other day. They tied with the juniors, and they've been getting better at MataBox.
Yeah.
MataBox is always something that it's like easier for freshmen to do because they're just smaller. They really, I think they have a chance to do pretty good this year. At least maybe beat the sophomores or juniors.
Yeah.
You know? One more thing though, you do golf. You coach golf.
Yes.
What is coaching golf like? I've never seen that.
So it's interesting because I think the last 4 years we've had like just a lot of good golf athletes. And this year it's like we're kind of in a transition phase. Just like any sports, right? They potentially hit their transition phase where it's like now you kind of have to rebuild. So coaching golf, I coach it with Coach Joe. So he's the JV boys soccer coach, right? So we kind of pair up and help with the boys. He's the varsity head coach for boys golf. But the reality is, like, when you're out there on these golf matches, you can't really coach the players. So if, like, Miguel hits a tee shot, right, I can't drive up next to him in the golf cart and be like, hey, Miguel, I think you should probably pull out your 5-iron right here, right? I literally just have to be there to support them, be like, oh, you know, tough shot, man, right? Yeah. Or, like, if they'll ask me, hey, what time? Because you can't provide them, like, coaching in these matches, right? At practice, sure, whatever. So that's kind of the caveat. And so it's interesting because, like, we play like all these other schools, right? And so parents show up or whatever, and yeah, it's tough. We have kids this year who have never played golf, but are out there doing it. And I think that's the biggest thing about Mariloma is that like you can probably convince a lot of kids to come out and try to do something once, and then that's how you just get like the snowball effect, right? And so coaching golf is you definitely have to have more patience. I thought I had a lot of patience for girls soccer. And I'm learning now that I need to have more patience for golf because it's literally probably like 90% mental.
What's like the environment like at those games, at like the golf matches?
So at the golf matches, like the boys will go out. So like you need 5 players to complete the match, right? But you can play with 6 per se, right? And they pair them up. So let's say that you two are like R1s and 2s. So our 1s and 2s are going to go in a foursome with the other 1s and 2s, right? And then you guys go out together. So you guys are playing, and a lot of times what happens is like you guys will talk to the other team, boys or whatever, but it's just like, it's literally like a gentleman's game on the honor system. So like, if you go out there and you're like, oh man, like I accidentally touched the ball, but they didn't see me. Like, you got to report that. Like, you got to tell your other opposing player, like, hey, I touched the ball, right? So you have to be honest. And so it's interesting because sometimes students will be like, I don't know if I can do that. They get out there and it's just like, it's just this presence of like, it's a gentleman's sport. And even like the opposing coaches who like, have been coaching forever, right? They'll kind of be like, hey, we're just teaching our players the etiquette of the game, right? And mind you, like we have kids who have never played golf. And it's just like they're seeing the other players and then organically just follow through. So yeah, not a lot of coaching, but definitely a lot of kind of like, all right, guys, we got to get here. Come on. Yeah. We got to get to the school. Because we don't get buses for these games because it's only 5 players, 6 players. Mm-hmm.
Well, do you have any final things we just need to go over, Miguel?
Because you got 4 minutes.
Yeah, 4 minutes left of the period.
Not really.
Not really? I mean, it was actually very good talking to you. Very interesting. Carlos?
One question.
What's one...
It's Carlos.
You're the guest.
What's one piece of advice you would give to someone, like, first starting to, like, get into college and, like, looking at college stuff?
Like, okay, so are we talking about, like, a senior? Or
like a senior,
yeah. Let's see. Well, a senior here at Mariloma, I think, okay, so just a blanket statement, right? For a student, both male or female, that is looking to go to college, right? Just managing expectations. So you may not, like, you're going to apply to 20 colleges, right? The reality is that's 20 rejections, right? That's worst case scenario. I think it's helpful when you can kind of be strategic in where you're applying. So we have a lot of kids that are like, my backup school is UC Davis. And it's like, dude, I read for UC Davis this past year for admissions. And like, we think our kids are like at the cream of the at the top of the table. There's kids everywhere in the state of California that are like the top of the table, right? So it's like, if you're banking on UC Davis to be your backup school, that right there is like a misconception, right? So the biggest thing that I would say is just kind of managing what your own expectations are, right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with going to community college. But I wouldn't just limit yourself to that, right? If you have the grades, like, it's better to know that you have options than to just be like, I'm only going to the community college. And then we get to May and you're like, dang it, I wish I would have applied to more colleges. So I always tell seniors, like, hey, apply to Sac State, right? Apply to Chico. Like, sure, maybe you don't want to go to Stanislaus and Turlock. I mean, I don't blame you, right? Nothing wrong with Turlock, but like, there's nothing there, right? Same thing with UC Merced. Nothing there. But apply, because it's better to know that you have options than to be stuck in one thing. And I think that's the one thing for you guys that you should always remember, is that when you're going through college or when you're going through life, try to have options. Unless you're stuck with one thing. And if you're stuck with one thing, then find ways to make the best of that one thing, right? Meaning that you kind of have to sharpen your skills. So I don't know if that directly answered your question, but in essence, just trusting your own process and not getting caught into the like, well, Miguel applied to Fresno State and all these other schools, and you see him apply to all those UCs. Should I do that too? It's like, bro, if you want to go to UC Merced, go to UC Merced, right? But don't get caught up in what other people are doing, because, like they said, the comparison is like literally the thief of joy, right? And if you do that all your life, you're never going to be happy.
What do you have to say, Carlos?
Thank you. Yeah, it was great.
You can always come and visit. So that's what I tell students, like, even though you're not on my caseload, right, you can always come and drop into my counseling office, right? Like, I'll talk to anybody. So that's always an option too. Shameless plug. Look at that. Okay, on time.
Thank you for coming, and we're very
even though I wasn't the first guest invited,
okay,
bro, but it's okay. I was the backup to the backup, but it's fine. Part two if requested.
If requested.
If requested.
Put it in the comments. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
if it's requested, part 2.
Just remember, if you have any questions to ask in the future, or any like suggestions for who we should interview in the future, just put it down in the comments below. We'll look at them. Really want to see your advice and your opinions. Thank you. This is the MataCast podcast. Over and out.
Peace.